Raul Ramirez of Kung Fu Culture here to help you to think about all different aspects of Chinese martial arts, but even just martial arts in general, a little bit, but with the focus on the Chinese, of course, right? Because it's Kung Fu. And the thing about Kung Fu is that it's definitely more of the lifestyle aspect that you might hear about. They always talk about different sports, like, oh, it's a lifestyle, or yoga is a lifestyle. So, same thing with Kung Fu. It's definitely like a lifestyle with all kinds of philosophies. Right. So, today we're going to be talking about the mental aspects of self defense. But before we get started, I just want to tell you a couple of announcements. So right now we're on summer break for our classes at the university at UCLA. So we'll have a few weeks before classes start again. But in the meantime, before classes start, we're going to be doing a few like community like seminars, so we'll probably make announcements about that. That mostly, of course, for students, but since it's a public university, you can join the gym, and you can, then you'd be able to participate in these free seminars. Um, Also, too, if you'd like to support us by becoming a channel member, we'd really appreciate that. We're going to really be trying to ramp up and add a lot more videos for in the channel member section. So yeah, if you become a channel member, it's not like there's nothing there. We have several videos there already, and we're just going to try to keep pumping out more. Um, and definitely we'll be listening to your requests and suggestions regarding all kinds of topics and techniques. It'd be really great to have it'd be great to have you in there ultimately. So you providing your feedback, it's all appreciated. 'Cause, basically I have tons of experience. Really happy to share it with you. All right, so I think those are the main announcements. What I want you to, we'll go ahead and like switch on over to the main topic. So self-defense. So a lot of people talk about self-defense, and a lot of times they talk about it in a really aggressive way and almost like fear-based, where it gets people thinking like, oh, someone's definitely going to be attacking you on the street and all that. Uh, Even though that's not exactly true, there's um, there's a lot of things that go into self-defense. So it's like we're going to be talking about the mental aspects of self-defense, and I've prepared a little bit of a list, and because ultimately I want to make sure we go over a bunch of points for you, and so you can kind of better understand where it's not just like, oh, I'm going to do some weekend seminar and I'm going to be able to defend myself at any time. It's not exactly like that. That's not exactly what goes on, right? So understanding the mental aspects is crucial for effectively protecting oneself, and can even help avoid confrontation in the first place. Right. So there's also many benefits of training the mental aspects of self-defense that we'll go over later. Right. So first and foremost, the fear response. So fight, flight, and freeze. So when faced with a perceived threat, the human body instinctively triggers an acute stress response, often called flight, fight, or freeze. This is an automatic biological reaction, right, mediated by your brain, right, preparing the body for immediate action. So chances are, you can't just like switch over like instantly to just be ready to fight. That is kind of like the misconception that a lot of people have. So it's not like in the movies where someone is usually instantly ready to to take on like some sudden attack right out of nowhere. It's not exactly like that. Usually, how it was mentioned in the, or how I just mentioned about the where they talk about freeze as well. So that's an important thing you really have to keep in mind, because chances are our body, if they're walking on the street, we're probably pretty comfortable, especially if it's a place you're familiar with already. So you're not exactly going to be thinking about all the different potential threats, especially if is a place that's very familiar, or maybe there's not very many people around, or whatever. You're, but if something happens, or someone attacks you suddenly out of nowhere, then it will take some time for you to switch over to thinking about how you can react, right? So that's kind of what they mentioned, where it's like fight, flight, or freeze. So chances are, even people who are trained, right, they can freeze unless they're like constantly vigilant. So but that would be like the people who are paid, right? So it's like the bodyguards who are paid to protect you. They might be they will most likely be more vigilant, but bodyguarding is a little bit of a different thing. So you're basically paid to plan, right? So you're going to be planning a lot about like where you're going to be taking your client, how you're going to be taking them there, how are they going to um, function where your like goal location is, and then how you're going to take them out of that goal location. So you're planning, or you're planning, or you're thinking about all the safest ways to do things. So it'll be your job to be more vigilant, but then as an everyday person, we're not going to be as vigilant. We're not always going to be thinking like, oh, what is the safest, most direct way to enter a building, or to, go to McDonald's, or, something like that, where it's like, you're not necessarily thinking that. Right. So that's why if something or someone or some altercation happens, it'll take us a little bit to shift our bodies over to some way, or to have the ability to react. So that's the whole deer in the headlight thing. So just so maybe give you a visual, where it's like the deer is frozen because, like, it'll take it a little while to switch over to getting out of the way, unless it already, it's like, so hopefully that was enough to kind of give you an understanding of that. So ultimately, with more training, you can cut down that freeze section, right? So you can minimize the duration of that freeze section, right? So let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. All right. So physical changes. So yeah, the adrenaline, stress hormones are released, leading to increased heart rate, blood pressure, rapid breathing, muscle tension, and sharpened focus. So that's what I'm saying. The stuff doesn't, like, our bodies can't just transition like in less than a second, right? It takes a little while for our bodies to transition, right? So you can't just, you're not just going to be like in it's like some movies or TV shows where you're just like instantly reacting, right? Because a lot of times it's a surprise for a reason, right? So let's get to the next point. So the freeze response. So I really want to hammer that one home, right? So many people experience freezing when overwhelmed by fear, becoming unable to act. This is a common and natural reaction, but proper training can significantly reduce its duration. Right. So this is the one thing that's why I'm trying to really emphasize that, because I guess it's my opinion that no one's really going to be a true like badass when something unexpected happens, because quite often it's unexpected, unless there's some build up to something, right? So unless someone is harassing you, and then you can already get some clues as to uh like like you're getting clues, so then you're feeling uneasy, so then that's when you're having more time for the physiological changes to happen, so that then if someone were to then try to attack you, then you already are ready to react, either get away or fight. So then the freeze response isn't going to be uh really present, right? So so you understand? So then sudden attacks, you're probably going to freeze a little bit, right, for temporarily. So, but training can help you minimize that time. But then, so say like if you start you start fighting. Actually, I had a client who got into a fight when she tried to break up with her boyfriend. Things started escalating to he ultimately attacked her, but like she described it to me, is that because she knew things were escalating, she knew the situation was escalating to a potential physical fight, that allowed her body the time to actually transition, like all the hormones, all the like the body is transitioning to the fight or flight scenario, or the fight or flight um, mode, so that when he actually did attack her, she reacted like smoothly, and she had that sharp focus that you get when you're competing, or so it's either competing or fighting in real life, or fighting in competition. Our bodies tend to be able to like laser focus onto what is happening, so the time seems to slow down, and so she was like in the zone, right? So that was because she trained a lot. So hopefully that kind of gives you the understanding where it's like sudden thing, you might freeze. If something's kind of building up, a scenario is kind of building up where you feel like, oh, I might have to escape or fight. Then if it's building up over time, then your body has that time to prepare itself, right, to react. So you might not freeze so much in that instance. All right, so let's talk about like overcoming that fear. So the mental preparation and realistic training can help individuals manage these psychological cognitive challenges, turning fear into focused action. Right. So there's all kinds of things you can be doing. Ultimately, like I don't know if you want to be like doing, like I kind of mentioned at the beginning, where you might have people online just being very aggressive and having like this fear-based idea of teaching self-defense. But a lot of times it is you can be thinking more practically. So the idea of, like I told you, the client that I had who was attacked and she overcame her attacker. She had been doing a lot of the Sanda training, but then also a lot of the China, like so our joint lock system, like the Kung Fu joint lock stuff. Um, so she was training to get proficient in doing these things, but then we're also explaining what scenarios you can do it in. So it wasn't always like, oh, some guy's gonna attack you. It wasn't like fear based, right? It was like skills acquisition kind of, where you're learning the skill, you're learning the technique, you're learning the counter for all these different types of ways people can grab you, so that when the scenario did occur, like my student was telling me that she's like, oh, this was just like in class. He grabbed me the same way you explained, and then so she just followed through accordingly. So it wasn't none of it was like fear based at all. So everything was very relaxed. So then I think in turn, then the client felt relaxed when unfortunately something did occur, right? When she had to actually fight in real life. Um, so these are the types of things that you kind of want to be thinking about. You can kind of go a little bit more hardcore, where it's like there's even visualizations. You can mentally practice different scenarios, but a lot of times I would say you can kind of try to keep it simple. I would say like a lot of times if someone grabs you like this, or if you have your hands up, like they can grab your wrist somehow, and but not make it where it's like someone's just scared all the time, especially when they're learning. Right. So ultimately, um, you can try to also think about ways to de-escalate the scenario, right? So if you are starting to feel uncomfortable, you can try to say like de-escalate. So like using verbal assertiveness, clear commands, and conflict resolution skills can sometimes de-escalate a situation, right, before physical confrontation happens, right? So things that can help you is like boundary setting. So clearly communicating boundaries. You can actually also get out of the way, right, if something seems like it's escalating. right? But let's go ahead and talk about some of the benefits of this type of training. So let's first talk about the psychological benefits, right? Because I think there are a lot of things that can happen. Because say if you are training, you're doing some kind of aggressive, uh, like self-defense training, and maybe some scenario where you had to use your skills occurred, and afterwards you're traumatized, right? It's natural, but a lot of times how you recover from that traumatic event is just as important. So it's like, if you're learning self-defense, you have to, I don't want to say you have to, but learning how to be resilient and to not allow the traumatic event to just completely devastate you after, like psychologically afterwards. That's also very important, right? Because that can totally happen. So the psychological benefits of self-defense training, right? So beyond physical protection, self-defense training offers numerous mental and emotional advantages, right? So increased confidence and self-esteem, right? So basically increased confidence. So like successfully learning techniques and applying them boosts a sense of capability and self-worth. So um there was some documentary, actually this is several years ago. I wish I could remember it, so then I could maybe try to link it in the show notes, or I can cite it specifically. But I believe it was about where researchers asked a lot of criminals, basically people who were in prison, who like did a lot of robberies and stuff, and especially like when they went and like they robbed people like in front of them, like they mugged people, right? So they actually went up to a person and asked them for their money or their valuables and whatnot. And a lot of them said that like they could just tell who would be the easier victim, right? So we do kind of give off a, I don't want to say victim, but like maybe like an untrained. The more trained you are, the less you give off this vibe. And so, according to some of the research, then the people who they make a living off of stealing from the weak or whatever, their sense of who would be the easiest target gets better, gets sharper, right? So they can kind of see, oh, I think that person is probably not going to give me a hard time, so I'm going to, pick their pocket, or I'm going to hold them up at gunpoint or whatever. Um, so it's been kind of shown that things like this can happen. So your body does change the more training you get, and the kind of, I think you give off a different vibe, right? You can, so then other benefits, right? Reduced anxiety and stress. Knowing how to handle dangerous situations provides peace of mind and reduces worry, right? Physical exertion, of course, also acts as a stress reliever. Basically, working out has been shown to help even all kinds of like hormonal hormonal conditions in our bodies. So just working out is fantastic, right? So improved mental focus and discipline. Training requires concentration and discipline. So enhancing these skills in other areas of life. So that kind of goes back to what I said towards the beginning, where it's like if you do like a one weekend seminar in self-defense, it's probably not going to be enough. Like you kind of do want to make it a lifestyle where you continue like working out, continue honing the skills. So with that continued training, then chances are you're not going to freeze as long, or you'll also be more calm under pressure, and chances are you'll react better, because if you just learn one technique once in one seminar, then if a scenario comes up where you have to use a technique, you might not remember it even, right? Um, yeah, and so and then now the other thing would be enhanced emotional resilience. Facing and overcoming fears in a controlled training environment builds coping skills and emotional control. So again, you just gotta like Make it a habit, make it part of your lifestyle, because then that helps give you a sense of empowerment as well. And so that will help you to bounce back and after the traumatic event is over. And that's going to be one of the most important things as well, because you don't want to be dwelling on the horrible traumatic event for the rest of your life. It can be a learning situation, but you don't want it to just define you, right? So you can always move on and grow and recover. And so that's something you want to be thinking about when you do like self-defense, right? It's the mental aspect that the self-care kind of thing, because you got to be able to continue on after. All right. So in essence, the psychology and mental aspects of self defense just emphasizes that readiness is not just about physical strength and technique, but about the prepared mind that can manage fear, make quick decisions, and leverage inherent psychological responses to navigate and overcome threats. So, hopefully, that kind of gave you a better idea of like self-defense, because it's not just like learning techniques. Because if you, like I just said, if you just learn once in one weekend, then chances are if you ever needed these techniques, then they could just, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen for you. So just make it fun. And also too, like I would say, like that's why you don't want to be in too stressful of an environment, because when you're training, because then you might start thinking of everything as a stressful environment. Like you're gonna get too much in your head about these things. Um, so just like any kind of workout, just make it a habit. Right, just continue doing things, continue training, make it fun, make it a good workout. Uh, so chances are when you're in a scenario, you might not freeze, or you won't freeze as long. All right, so hopefully it's going to give you a better idea, better understanding. Um, I try to put these things together for you, so hopefully you liked it. It's kind of like the saying. I think we're going to try to make it more of the slogan for the channel, where it's like you want to enlighten your mind and make fierce the body, right? So this whole idea of like, the mind body connection is so true, and so the mental aspects of self defense is very important. A lot of times, they talk about, even like in professional fighting, it's like the mental aspect is the main aspect. Said it is true in that it's like a huge percentage of your outcome. Are you going to be training both things, or I think a lot of times that's why I'm saying, like, even in professional fighting, if you're in that scenario, I think we kind of seen a big example of this, right, with all the Karate Kid movies and stuff, where it's like the bad guy trains at this aggro gym where the coach is like this really mean, aggressive guy. And so the guy who trains in this like more relaxed environment isn't all stressed out all the time wanting to fight everyone, is not thinking of everything as like some fight that they have to win. So hopefully that kind of gives you a better idea, where it's like, yeah, yes, be training, make it a lifestyle, but I don't want you to be scared of the world, right? So being more relaxed, that helps you to become more resilient. Just you learn and help that help like let those techniques help you to become more empowered, more self-confident. So you give off that confident vibe, right? That air of confidence that makes it where people don't want to attack you, right? So like learn so that you don't. Isn't there like that saying where it's like you want to learn these techniques so that you don't ever have to use them? Same idea, but don't try not to be all aggro about it, because that'll just stress you out. All right. So with that being said, think about becoming a channel member. Will just be, I really want to focus on adding a lot more Kung Fu videos for members in there. So if you're in there, you can always comment about stuff you want to learn. But also too, just in the regular channel, we're going to be trying to put more long form videos out. So basically more technique stuff. So if you want to comment as well about stuff you want to learn about, because Kung Fu is so huge. We got, the philosophy, right? We got all the different styles, where you have like a lot of the traditional styles, a lot of empty hand style. Like the traditional styles, you can think they're divided into two main categories. You got the internal stuff, so like the meditative stuff, like the Tai Chi and the Xing Yi, all the Bagua, all these different things. Um, then we got all the external styles, so all the traditional styles. And then we also have like the current sport style of Sanda, which is still be considered like that. The external, we also have the Chinese wrestling, right? So we have the jacket wrestling. Yeah, I was in Yunnan province, the 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 native tribes there. They have their own version of wrestling. It's without a jacket. So yeah, there's a bunch of aspects. So uh, just just hit me up, all right? So then we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you next time.